Hi everyone, this is Rocio Flores from CoachRoFlores.com, and today's topic is habits and routines versus systemic patterns. I don't know why, I feel really nervous today. I haven't done a video for 2 months now, I think, and I don't know why. I just didn't want to turn on the camera today. I had I had a whole plan for January, and then I didn't do January's first and foremost because I make my own plans, so I could change them if I don't want to, right? And so I'm trying to give myself grace there where January was a very packed month, December into January, just the end of the year with all the holidays and everything. And so I wanted to do this whole video on the concept of resolutions and how people want to make changes, but they don't understand the actual patterns around what change means and how you can get real change, etc. And then the world went to, and so I'm having a hard time with the do stuff that isn't focused solely on what's going on in the world. I am not a person, like I say, I should change that. My goal for the year, part of what I want to do is change my pessimism, because I'm just, like I said, I'm automatically I go to the worst place. And every time there's anything going on with immigration in the country, my whole body reacts. That is something that I'm acutely aware of. And so I'm trying to change my own, I want to say, perspective, so that I'm not automatically reacting to things with such strong emotions. But I'm not living in some fantasy world where nothing's happening. Because I think a lot of people, that's kind of how they cope with really difficult things. They just don't think they happen. They're like, oh, we don't watch the news, we're not political, we're not. And so then as the world continues to get worse, the world's going to affect you regardless of whether or not you're paying attention to it or not. And so then we complain because we don't like the way the world is, etc., but then we don't want to do anything about it. And so the topic for this month, I thought, I had already set it up as more of a self-based concept, as most of the topics I talk about are, but I want to kind of put it within the greater concept of the world, because I think it works perfectly. We're seeing right now, okay, horrible thing happens on the news, people are outraged, people go out into the streets, and for a few weeks everyone's talking about it, and then they're having this huge fight over whether or not it happened or how did it happen, etc. The officials are saying that there has to be something done, while the other ones are actually the right thing was done. And then people get super we're gonna boycott, and we're gonna only shop at small places, and we're not gonna buy anything else, and we're gonna donate all our money, we're gonna follow these things, and etc. We go through this process, and then a few weeks later, back to normal. Enough that again, people who don't want to focus on any of that, their life hasn't changed. They don't even notice that anything's going on. And then on the other side of that, it's you got people whose entire life just stops because they cannot not focus on something that's happening on the other side of the country, right? And so there's truth to be said that neither of those is the healthiest way to react to it, but it is a pattern. And it's something that I think if we focus more on what is the entire pattern of the behaviors that you engage in, the thoughts that come up, the way that it affects your whole life, and making actual changes to those patterns, versus usually the advice that people give in the self-help world is work on your habits and create new routines, etc. But they ignore the patterns that are so ingrained in us because of the stuff that's happening in the world that are actually affecting us. And so I started the year off very positive, even though the world's not positive. But I was okay, I feel like it's okay. We're okay right now. I'm okay right now. I have a pretty good structure for the things that I want to do. So I'm doing what I can do. And then I can't do other things. So I'm just going to kind of forget those things, or at least not be so worried about them. And so everything's okay. And then another big thing happens, and my body just freaks out. And then my pattern is I cannot do anything else. My brain does not let me. I have a huge list of to-dos, and I just ignore them. I'm I can't I can't focus on that. And I'll say that at least this month I've been engaging in healthier coping mechanisms, like painting and socializing, and those are things I didn't do in the past. But I still recognize where I'm like disengaging where I want to be engaged because it's just so heavy, and feeling paralyzed in areas that I don't want to be paralyzed in. And so while I don't think that this video is the most important thing in the world right now, and I mean, most of the time, a lot of people aren't watching this video anyways, right? But like, if somebody was to watch it, I kept feeling like I don't think the world cares about this right now. I don't need to do this right now. Like, this isn't what matters. I'm just gonna go ahead and stick to the plan that I have, which is one video a month. Because God forbid the worst happens and I have to recreate a life in another country, and I'm gonna need some sort of business. And so this is all supposed to be content creation. It's supposed to be like a business, right? It's supposed to help me build up my coaching business. It's supposed to help me sell my book. Because remember, guys, I sold a book. I published it. It's out in the world, and I have not talked about it for like the last month because I was so anxious that I was like, I'm just never gonna mention this again. And so I have to remember that I have a plan for a reason. I made a plan of things I can do. I have to stick with that. And then that gives me the freedom to do other things that I want to build. And then the freedom to kind of freak out a little bit in between. Without it completely derailing. Because the last time I derailed, I just didn't make videos for, what was it, almost 4 years. And then I just stopped coaching completely. And I really got back into doing more like content and just doing more things I like to do once I started writing again, and then I made my book, because now I do art and now I do a lot more stuff, and it's really awesome. But you know, I can't let the world stop me, because that's kind of what they want, right? They want us to not engage in the things that are good, because yeah, then they can continue to win. So I'm gonna take this as like, just do the thing, Rocio. I hope that makes sense. I don't even know if that makes any sense. Let me drink water. Self-care. Okay, so as always, I take the topic, and then I go through the Be Yourself framework, the pillars that I set up, and they kind of build on each other. So the first one is self-awareness. And from the personal, like maybe you're just like, I just want to build a habit of like I just want to eat healthy, or I just want to write more, or I want my life to just feel different. I feel so disorganized. Or you're a person who wants to affect the world in a different way, but you're like, my life is too much of a mess to do anything. Well, this is where we stop and just kind of assess what's going on. So becoming more aware of the habits and the patterns that are already in place. For example, like which habits automatically feel like, okay, every time this happens, I'm stuck in this loop. Like it is just so automatic. Versus what things have to be intentional in order for them to happen. So for example, some people are morning people, some people are night people. And there are people who force themselves to be morning people, even if they're not, mostly because they have to, right? And so then let's say it's something that you intentionally have to do, right? Your body's not going to naturally wake up early. You have to intentionally set an alarm, etc. But if you're noticing that you just can't do it every day, and so then the automatic is for you to snooze, and the next thing you know, you didn't even get good morning sleep because you snoozed for like an hour, and now you only have a few minutes left to get up and go. And you have this intention, but it's different from the automatic habit that you actually have, which is no. Before my kid, that's what I was. I would snooze forever. And now my kid's my alarm, so I can't snooze him. So notice where loops happen. Notice where like this happens, then this happens, and then this happens. And whether or not you're actively trying to get that to happen, you're like stuck in that loop. Like that's just, it happens every time. And notice where you can notice your daily routines. Like, okay, in the morning I do great. I'm like in a great mood, and I get the day started, and I have all these plans and all these ideas, and then I get into traffic and I'm in a bad mood. And once I'm in a bad mood, now I don't feel like doing the next thing, etc. I actually was watching a video on YouTube earlier, just like a reel that popped up, and he was talking about people with ADHD and how our brains just don't like, we can't, like, we'll be like, I need to do this thing, I want to do this thing, but I cannot do this thing. And how you can't, it's not laziness, it's not like, oh cool, I'm not doing the thing that I don't want to do. It's like, I want to do the thing. You're sitting there feeling the anxiety of not doing the thing you want to do, and you just can't get yourself to do it. And so then I was like, I need to take my meds. Like, I need to get up, take my meds, because I know that that will then give me some energy to then do other stuff later. And it kind of kicked off several things for my day, from cleaning to taking a shower to getting ready to like being able to eat and then sit down and like do the video that I have had on my schedule for a while. And so it's called behavioral activation. Just do one thing and then that thing will lead to the next thing, etc. But first and foremost, you have to recognize where, like, okay, I know now, if I get up and do one small thing, then I'll think of the next thing now, and then I can just do that next thing. And then it really helps me to just go to the next thing, go to the next thing, do to the next thing, rather than trying to plan each step of what I'm going to do. Because if I'm thinking about it, I'm not doing it, and then I get really overwhelmed, and then it feels like I can't do anything. And then, so that's my pattern. What's your pattern? That's what you need to consider. And then map out kind of like what your response to those patterns are. So let's say you're just the scrolling habit. I think a lot of us are dealing with that. We're like, we grab our phone and we're not even trying to get online. We're not trying to get on social media, but we went to check the date or the time or the weather, or oh, you have a notification. You click on it, and next thing you know, you're on a video and you're like, oh, interesting. And then it's been an hour. And you're like in a bad mood, because a lot of the times it's not even fun stuff. You're watching horrible stuff and you're like angry. And then you're like, no, you feel shitty. So then you put it away. And then you feel bad about yourself, because you're like, I just wasted a whole hour. And then like you're having all these shameful feelings. Even though it's a thing that happens every day, and you know it's going to happen every day, and you know that most people do it, and you know that it's pretty common, and most of us get stuck on the loop of us scrolling. Most people who have a phone, and it's kind of designed for that to be the way that it works. And so yet we feel shameful as if we're the only person that is doing that thing that we shouldn't be doing, right? And so that's where that feeling of like, okay, what are some of the emotions that come up, some of the, like, your emotional response to the behaviors and emotions and actual actions that are taking place. And then another thing to help you with like kind of becoming more aware is just think of, like, when we used to read books and they told you to look at the characters, the setting, think of that, but for you. And this would be kind of like the triggers. I don't want to say triggers because it's not necessarily like triggering like a mental health episode, but like just in general, what is causing one thing to happen. So like, is it a certain time of day? Is it locations, certain stressors? Like I said, hey, when I watch a video of a person being, harmed online, that's going to throw off my day, whether or not I'm not a, like, it messes with me. I don't know how people, I don't even like watching like movies that are too realistically violent, because for some reason realistic violence it's just, I'd rather watch gory movies, because watching something that's like a person, and it's real, and you're like, oh my god, I can't disconnect from it. Like I'm not somebody who can just like, oh, just go about my day and it's just another thing. Like I have to not look at it. And so I always make the mistake of looking. Sometimes I think it does matter, and sometimes I'm like, I know I shouldn't look, because I know it's gonna affect me, and I know it's gonna be several days of affecting me. Like my brain's not gonna let go of that just because it's lunchtime now. And so what is that for you? Like my husband, he would get on these on pages that show police brutality, or like cops doing something wrong, or I don't know if you've seen videos of like people outsmarting the cops, where they're like showing them, no, my rights, and you're the one that made the mistake, and all these things. And then you're like, I'm like, why are you watching that? It makes you upset, it makes you mad, and you're supporting these people who are actively making money out of reposting these things that aren't tied to any kind of actual like change, any organizations, any like mutual support. It's just people making money off of content that is horrible. And so every time I see him, I'm like, hey, remember, get off of it. Go watch something funny. Like, go watch something different. And so pay attention to that. Maybe you're not somebody who's stressed out by something like that. Maybe you're just, well, if I'm late to work, that throws off my day. If my house is messy, I hear a lot of people who are like, I cannot focus if my house is messy. So then if that throws off your day, if that's affecting like, oh, well, now I'm only thinking about this, or I'm only able to do this. And think of the good things too. Like, man, on days that are really great, if I drink water, I feel better. Who could have thought? Why is this so hard to drink water? Okay, so then we move into self-acceptance, the second pillar. Okay, I think it's important to understand that whether the habits that we have right now, whether they're good or bad, they come from somewhere, right? Like, we built up these patterns in our life because they've served us in some way or another, whether it's in like a good way or a bad way. Maybe they helped us. Like, I know, how to explain this? So like, if you have, let's talk about this, like an addiction, using things to cope that are just not healthy, whether you're doing, substances or alcohol or even food or other activity, just anything you don't like to do and that you're like, I'm stuck doing this. There's a reason that's there, right? You're coping with something. There's more to it than just the physical thing, because we know that there's people who can have access to certain substances and they don't have the same addictive behaviors. And so there's something going on there. Now, that would be an awareness for you to like figure out the deep core, like that's therapy. But I'm saying, like, if you recognize that pretty much every behavior that we have, everything that we do in our life, whether all these habits, small and big, they fit there for a reason. Like, your life works out in a way because there's a reason for it. And so in self-acceptance, all I want you to do is recognize that, like, that's okay. Like, this is what you do. This is how your life has been right now. Like, maybe you're like, but I can't say it's okay if I'm doing a bad thing. You have to accept that you're doing it first in order for you to then be like, oh, I want to change it. And so you have to understand that this is part of what is happening. And so from there, kind of recognizing these are the parts that helped me. Like, maybe you're really harsh on yourself and you say really mean things to yourself. And so every time you make a mistake, you're like, I don't want to like say bad things, but like you say yourself bad things. And then, but that gives you motivation to move forward. A lot of us have that. In a sense, it's helping you. It's helping you move forward and to be able to get past and out of the original situations that probably were the ones that created that pattern where you learned those words in your brain. And now you need to learn how to talk to yourself nicely, but still be motivated. And that shift is hard because it's supposed to be hard. Like, anytime we're making our brain change what it does, it's hard work. And so recognize that it's okay. Like, this is what you do. You're aware of it now. Accept that that's where you're at, so that then you can move forward. Okay, well, how can I change it or not change it, or which parts are good or not good, right? And so when you're tracking what you're doing, kind of pay attention to what's kind of just happening without it being your, like, what's unconscious. It's not in a cycle that you're choosing, and how it could have served a purpose. Like, does it make you feel like you could do it? Like, I'm a procrastinator. I don't know how many of you are procrastinators. I just assume everyone in the world is. And when I meet someone who isn't, I'm like, there's something wrong with you. And I have to feel like I have a deadline and like I'm going to get in trouble in order to do the thing. And so I've been trying to kind of give myself deadlines way ahead of time, because I will sit with the thing in my head until the last minute. So it's not like I'm not thinking about it and then I just put it off and then I do it. No, I am thinking about the thing over and over and over again, and then I sit down and do it, and I can do it great because I've been thinking about it. But it's not healthy in any way. One, I could have put it down so I could let it go from my mind, put it down on a notebook. I could have started different steps. I could have just done it and then come back, right? And fix it after. Like, there's a lot of things I could have, should have, would have done, but the purpose and what's going on in there, like the feeling bad, like I'm gonna get in trouble, that's the part that I don't like. That's the part that is the cycle, right? That's the thing that's, because it's not the thing, it's whether it's writing an article or it's making a video or cooking, or like, it's not the thing that I need to do that needs to change. It's the words that I'm telling myself, the story that I'm telling myself, that like, hey, you need to feel like you're in trouble in order to be able to do things. And so that obviously comes from growing up in a way where I felt like I was in trouble a lot. And when I got in trouble, I like that, obviously, like I was like, I'm not going to get in trouble, because then I can't, it was too dangerous. And so now I have to kind of recreate and understand that like that served a purpose, because it kept me safe. As a kid, if I did the thing I needed to do and I was very careful, and I, if I put it off but only till the last minute, but got everything done, then I was okay and I was safe right above the line. But I wasn't thriving. I wasn't doing more than I needed to do. I just kind of lived with the anxiety of it. Now I don't have to, right? I need to understand I'm not in trouble. I choose what I do. I can communicate when I feel like I don't have the time or the bandwidth to do something. And I can choose. It is a choice for me to do this now or not do it now. I have to stop looking at it as like, I'm just procrastinating because that's just who I am. And look at how it served me in the past. Like, it was keeping me safe. It's not keeping me safe now. It's just the anxiety now. And then releasing shame. I think a lot of us deal with this. A lot of us deal with shame around routines and habits, because we're constantly told that we need to be doing things differently than we're doing them. So we feel like we're lazy if we're not waking up early or going to sleep on time. We feel like we're unhealthy, or many other bad words, if you're not eating healthy or working out or we feel bad if we watch too much TV or we're on our phone too much. We feel bad. Like, there's so many things to feel bad about. And part of self-acceptance is recognizing, again, first and foremost, most people are dealing with a lot of the same stuff. There's nothing specifically wrong with you because you're struggling with it. It is not the norm to be like 100% and I can do everything that society tells me to do. Nobody's living that way unless they really want to, and it's like a thing that's easy for them and they have the capacity. Like, there has to be so many things set in place for people to hit the norm or the standard that society tells us we need to hit. And so then anything else, basically, like, we're left feeling like there's something wrong with us. And I want to tell you that there isn't. Like, it is okay. Part of approaching all of this is just being like, it's okay. Like, it's okay if I want to watch TV in the evenings. I don't have to read a book if I don't want to. It's okay if I want to scroll on my phone for an hour a day. It's okay if I want to do things that other people don't want to do. If I want to sleep in, it's okay. Like, I get to choose how to live my life, and I get to choose whether or not it's a problem or not. And I am going to do it because I want to live in a certain way, not because I feel bad and I feel shame around what it means about who I am. And then, I don't know how to explain the next point I put on here, but approach everything that you do with curiosity. Like, well, maybe this is a problem, maybe this isn't. Maybe I feel bad about this, but I don't know if I should feel bad about this. Part of acceptance is kind of being like, it's okay to not know. Like it's okay for you to one day think, oh man, I feel really bad and I feel ashamed about this. And the next day be like, okay, but I actually don't feel like it's a bad thing to feel shame about this. And I actually want to force myself to do this thing. Or like, it's okay to change your mind. Like, you're allowed to change your mind. You get to do whatever you want to do with your life. And so releasing that shame then comes with, you could change your mind. You could be curious and then change what you're doing and not criticize yourself because now it's another bad thing that you're doing, that you're not doing it the way you said you would do it. Does that make sense? I hope so. Let me know. And then under self-love, the third pillar, oh man, I wrote these funny. Okay. I am starting to lose my sight. And I'm wearing contacts right now, so I'm nearsighted. I'm starting, like, I can't see my computer. I have it on 200%, and I still have to kind of like My eyes are not good. Okay. I want you to focus on celebrating the effort that you put into the changes that you want to make. So, the fact that you recognize, okay, well, I know if I take my meds, I'll feel better. And so I'm trying to take them every day. And that's a good thing. Just accept that that's a good thing. It's a good thing that you are recognizing that you're trying to drink water, that you're trying to eat healthy. And that if you make small decisions, whether that means I put a water bottle next to my pills so that I'm not getting lost in the, well, now I have to go get a clean cup and I have to put, my cups are too high for me to reach. I have to go get it and I have to get water and I have to go back over here and I have to not forget to close the pills properly because what if my kid gets them, and then now I'm in this big cycle of like, well, oh my God, what would happen if something, like if he got into my pills and if I accidentally forgot to think, and next thing you know, I'm like, did I take them already? And like the whole day's like there's too many things in the way. So the fact that I took a step, which one helps me drink more water, I put a water bottle right next to the pills. That's an effort that's going to help me with that thing I want to create as a routine. And so just be like, yay, I did a thing. And the reason I think a lot of people don't like this concept is because they don't think you should like be happy with the minimum effort, because then that means that like you're congratulating yourself for not really doing the thing, and then you're not going to continue to do the thing. And I get it, where that can happen, because we're getting like a dopamine hit by being like, yay, we did this thing, and then now you just don't do. It's kind of like planning. Like sometimes you like create this beautiful planner and you're like, I plan my whole life out, and then you just like, okay, now I'm good. Now I don't feel like I need to do the actual things because I just needed something to make me feel good. And so I'm not talking so much about that. I'm talking about maybe creating a habit where now this thing you want to do, this habit that you want to create, has a positive association with it. So you're not having an automatic negative emotion to it. So next time that you look at that thing, you're not throwing yourself into a negative loop. You're throwing yourself into a positive loop that you're creating. And so by being happy, and oh man, there's so many good apps for this. Like there's little apps where like you feed little, but I want to say bug, like a little animal. I think Hank Green put out an app where it's a bean, but that has to do with like not being on your phone or something. I don't know. I haven't actually got it because I know it's not gonna work for me, because I don't want to, like, I know what works for me and what doesn't. But if you're somebody who likes video games and who like will get a lot of dopamine from like feeding a little animal, right? Like kind of like a Tamagotchi, and you did your dishes, so now you get a point. Like that could be something that helps you with creating that loop. I can't do that. That would just add an extra thing to do in my head that creates a negative loop for me. But I do try to I get like a good feeling when I create systems, when I'm like, oh, if I do this, but I make this easier, like my whole house is pretty much set up to be as easy as possible for me. For example, I always lose my chapsticks, and then Colorado's really dry, so my lips are all dry, and I hate that, which it's a whole thing, because now it's like a preoccupation in my mind if I'm trying to do something, etc. I'm not going to be able to carry my chapstick with me all the time. Like, it's the fact that I'm trying to that makes me lose it, because now I set it down, I don't know where it is, and my kid got it. And so instead, I have chapstick in every single location that I could possibly need chapstick. And this year, we bought a crazy amount of chapsticks so that I'm not like having to wait until I go to the store to get a new one. And so I have like one inside of my purse, one on the side in the car, one on this side of the car, because my kid likes to grab the one in the middle. Because I've learned that's a pattern. Have one by the there's like a little bar where I have like this controllers and stuff on the island thing in my kitchen, and then I have one on the kitchen table, and then I have one like I have them in different locations, because if not, again, if I'm thinking, oh my god, my lips are dry, I need to put chapstick on. Where did I put my chapstick? And next thing you know, I'm somewhere else. I'm not doing this thing again. And like this task that I was doing is probably gonna not happen, because now I needed to grab the chapstick over here. Oh, but now that I noticed that this was dirty over here, let me just go put this to wash. Let me go do this next thing. And then I did a bunch of stuff, which is not a bad thing, but then it's like, oh, I completely lost track of the thing I initially needed to do. So I know I need to do this with tissues, scissors, chapstick, what else do I do? Hand sanitizers, lotions, pretty much anything, like anything that you could need, but that like you're always like, where is it? I have it all in the same areas. Salt, because I have to always have salt with my food, and I hate having to get up again and again, because then again I lose track. I'll go off and do something else, and then I'm like, oh, I have to heat up my food again, and now I have to do this, and now I have to pee, and so celebrate when you like. Where did I even go through this? Okay, I was trying to say that this is me coming up with a system to do things, feels good, and that's my celebration. I'm over here going into okay. And then offer yourself patience when things don't stick. So sometimes you try a thing and it doesn't seem to work out so well. And that's with, if you watch any organizing videos or people who do cleaning or people who do habits, routines, like you get a ton of like advice. And that's why I'm not framing any of the things I do as advice, because it's like, well, if it sounds like something you want to do, try it. But if it's not, if you tried it before and it didn't work, that's okay. I've seen a lot of people who kind of like, no, you have to do it this way. Like, no, this will work if you do this. And yes, if you're a person who can do a thing and stick with that system, then it's going to work. But if it doesn't stick and then it doesn't help you, then now you're shaming yourself for not being able to do a thing that was supposed to help you, instead of feeling bad about just the thing that you're not doing. And so, okay, be patient with yourself. Some things aren't going to work and some things will work. And some things will work with time. Like I remember learning how to do deep breathing for my anxiety. That took me years. It didn't work. It didn't do anything. And that was because my cortisol levels were so high. It took a lot to get on medication that helped me with that. So I wasn't having such strong like PTSD reactions. And so like it literally was like I would have like this feeling of adrenaline in my whole body. And so like the deep breathing didn't do enough. And so then I didn't feel like it was helping me. And then it had to become a habit of something I just automatically do anytime I feel any kind of, like I walk into places, sometimes I'm just like I'm just having a conversation. I'm like, because I'm feeling it and I need to calm my body down. And so it took me years to get to where I just did it automatically to now where it actually helps when I need it. And then under self-love, I'm going to say that practicing kind of like gentle parenting, but with yourself. Some people talk about like reparenting your inner child, self-talk, like positive self-talk. That's part of like that changing the wiring in your brain to love yourself, to like treat yourself well, to remind yourself that you're just a person, like you're just another human being like anybody else, and you're not that different from a kid. Like you're just a human being. You're different. You've grown. You've created patterns that you don't like. Maybe you've done things you don't like. You want to do things differently. Like, but it's okay. Like, be nice to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Tell yourself, like, okay, I made a mistake today. This didn't work out today. I'm not where I want to be yet. Tell yourself the things in a way that you would to a kid or to your best friend, because eventually that does become the way you speak to yourself in your brain, and that's really nice. And it becomes really automatic to speak that way to other people, and to kids, and it really changes your worldview on what is good and not good in the world, and having patience and gentleness for even people that we don't like. So then we move to self-care. Under self-care, I'm going to focus on the first one's always going to be, I did not write it down, okay, the actual like self-care basics. Please, if you're going to start trying to change habits in your life, think of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is like this is a good conversation for a lot of people online. They'll talk about this a lot, and there is a lot of, I'd have to find some books for it, but I'm gonna look at that. Books, I got my thing out today so that when I'm looking up resources on the subject, if I mentioned it in a video, I actually like, because then I'm like, I don't want to watch my video for an hour just to remember the one thing I said I mentioned that I was going to say. Books on theory about needs being met. Okay, I don't know how to say that. Okay, basically, if your basic needs aren't being met, it's very hard for you to focus on the next thing. Like, maybe you want to start dating, right? But you don't have your own place, and you don't have enough money to make your bills every month, and you're very upset with the work that you're doing, and you're just not in a good place mentally. And like, let's just say there's a bunch of things going on. Okay, is dating the best option right now? Is it just gonna add another stressor to your life? Let's say you want to work on getting a better job, but you literally can't. Like, you're just like making it. You don't have the option to save money to be able to be out of work for 2 weeks, like during the transition period. Like, maybe you're just barely surviving, right? Maybe leaving the job you have means that you're going to lose your insurance, or you're going to get kicked off of Medicaid if you start making more money, and your health depends on it. Like, there's a lot of things that, again, they tie into bigger systemic issues in the world, where if you are not taking those things into consideration, it's very easy to think, well, I'm just not able to do the thing. And I'm like, you could tell yourself a lot of negative things because you're not where you want to be, but there's things in the way. And so you got to recognize how those things are affecting you. And so when you start off, I want you to focus on that. Like, what is the base level of needs that your body has, right? How do you take care of yourself at the base level? Maybe that means drinking water so that your brain is at least working at its capacity, getting enough sleep, and changing whatever like issues around sleep that are taking place. Because a lot of the times, like, if you live in a city that's really noisy, it's easy to say go get better sleep. But if you're like having a hard, like my mom's, she lives in a place where there's tends to be a lot of noise at night, like people party a lot at night, and so she struggles with it, right? And so then it's easy for people to say, you just got to change your life, go feel better, go get more sleep. And it's like, okay, well, you have to make active changes that will help with that situation, because you can't change the outside. So there's like water, sleep. Let me take a deep breath. Water, sleep, food. Those are probably like the most absolute basic, right? Those are the things you have to do regardless to stay alive. But then there's like clothing, shelter, access to utilities, obviously access to work in general, or at least some sorts of financial. So like, if you are spending all your money every month and going into debt every month, and you know that it's not just on necessities, but you have like a habit of overspending, but that's affecting your ability to like pay your rent, things like that. Like, something has to, in order for you to then be like, well, I want to change my life in all these other ways, that's a thing that you might have to tackle before you could get to the next thing, right? And so practice, go up the levels rather than trying to start at the top. Because what happens sometimes, and this is very common in, like, for example, people of color, that actually the show Shameless did a really good job of showing that, when the brother goes off to the good college and he just struggles so much because, like, they showed it really well, but this happens a lot in people of color, because there's like that idea that, like, oh, we're gonna make it. Oh, but in order to make it, you almost have to not be tied to what's behind you, because we tend to be like, well, if I have any money, I have to help my family, right? And if I can't focus on school because I need to work to pay these bills for my brothers, and so then you're not able to focus on school, and then you have to be focused on the drama that's going on with your family or your friends, or like, because there isn't a system set up to support a person who goes off to do something better. A lot of kids end up leaving school because they just can't handle the stress. Like, I know people who just quit college because they just can't. Like, if you have other things going on, it gets in the way. And so that's what happened in Shameless, basically. Like, he struggles with that transition. And so if you try to push for that top and then you keep failing because things keep getting in the way, maybe let's start down low. How about we focus first? Are you eating several meals a day at least? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough sleep? Okay, now, do you have an activity in your life? Do you have the basic necessities that you need in order to get through each day? What would it take to meet those needs? And this is where you can now look into like help outside of yourself, because sometimes you need support. If you're not getting enough food, do you qualify for food stamps? If you have a health issue that's not being addressed and it obviously affects everything else you try to do you have access to Medicaid? Do you have access to like, okay, I'm almost meeting my needs, but I can't, and I am struggling with this. Like, instead of getting a payday loan, can you get a credit card with a lower rate? Can you, like, it's thinking things through in a level that will allow you to move up little by little. So take care of yourself, and then take care of your surroundings, and then take care of your relationships, and then move on to the greater around us. And then, not that you can't do bigger things, but self-care should always be like, focus on those, making sure you have those, because you want to consider that there's people who get to the top, who do all these amazing things, and then they have a heart attack because they didn't take care of their body, right? Because they're so stressed out, because they have been dehydrated for days. Like, there's so much that can happen that because we don't take care of ourselves, those very basic things. And then I also put on here, like, I recommend resetting only one routine at a time if you're working on making changes, because then you can kind of see where, like, I really want to change this one thing in your life, this one habit. If you try to uproot your entire life, it's not going to work. You're probably going to have the same issues, just in a different way. But when you're focusing on one thing, now you can recognize what's actually affecting that thing, what keeps you from being able to change that thing, what larger systemic issues are at play. I don't have a good example for this one, but I'll find resources on that. And then take breaks. Sometimes you just can't do the thing. Like I said, this last month, I had to decide, like, I don't have to put out a video that's like talking about resolutions and stuff when there's like horrible things happening in the world. I don't have to. I get to choose what I do and don't do. And yes, I've had the habit of making a video a month, and that's been really nice. I can choose what I do and don't do. It's my decision. Sorry, I got distracted, started writing on the table. And so you could take a break if it helps you kind of reestablish your value system, reestablish your needs and what you're working towards. And that's just self-care, so that you're not getting overwhelmed, you're not overdoing it, and you're not getting like burnt out. Because I think like last year, I really had a hard time around November, around the time that my book came out, because I had made a lot of changes at once, and I was trying to keep up with all that plus other things in life. And mentally, I couldn't like put in my head, like, well, what do I actually want to do on a daily basis? This is my life. I get to choose. Like, what do I want to sign up for and not sign up for? What do I want to join and not join? Like, what do I actually want to be a part of my life and not part of my life? And that's what I spent most of December doing, was like really putting that into consideration, so that I'm able to move forward in a way that's not like just completely kicking my ass every month, where I just feel overwhelmed and annoyed and tired, etc. Okay, and then I gave myself an extra month because 1 month wasn't enough because of holidays. Okay, self-direction. I will put some resources when I get the resources list made for SMART goals, which means specific, measurable, is it attainable? I forgot the words. Every time I say it, I forget the words. And then I forget how to type. Okay. Why is SMART goal, the R always gets me. Relevant. Okay, and then time bound. And basically, look, if you're gonna make a goal, don't just be like you can have a general sense of the things you want, but then you need SMART goals to like every day I will do, or like every morning I will take a 4-ounce drink of water, and I will do that 5 days out of the week during the weekdays, right? Because that's attainable, because you have to be up anyways for work, or if that's what you do. It's relevant because you wake up anyways and you have to get ready for the day. It's, maybe you already go to the kitchen to make coffee, so might as well, while you're waiting for the coffee, drink 4 ounces. It's attainable because it's not a lot of water. It's measurable because you know how much you actually did versus whether or not you, versus not like telling yourself you're just going to drink more water, or you're going to drink like a huge gallon, and you're able to know I did it 5 days out of the week, 4 days out of the week, etc. It's very specific, and then timed, as in I'm going to do that for 1 month and see how I feel. Other things to help you kind of get on track for self-direction is having some sort of accountability, whether it's like a journal or a reminder on your phone, or a friend, or somebody who can check in on you to help you with that consistency. And then wonder or assess what routines or what changes you're doing and how they're aligned with like actual long-term goals. Again, the self-help world is filled with like the hustle culture stuff where like wake up at 4 a.m., do 2 hours of meditation and an hour of working out every day, and no carbs, and no like there's all these things, and you're like, okay, but what do I want with my life? Because that sounds like crap. Like, it's just not a thing. It's like some people love it. Some people enjoy working out. Some people enjoy certain things in life, and that's why it works for them. And the reason it doesn't work for a bunch of other people is because we don't want that. It's okay to not want that. It's okay to say, some people are like, I want to work really hard because I want to, be able to retire early, and then I want to buy a house and a mansion and all these things. And it's like, okay, but what if you don't want that? Do you really need to push yourself to the point of almost a heart attack if you don't feel like if your day-to-day life that you want is not that different, and you could just start living it now? And so for me, like, I want to have my coffee in the morning. I want to journal. There's little things I want to do that are important for me to be able to establish for the rest of my life. And so if I'm doing something and it's for short term, I can assess kind of like, okay, I can make myself do this thing for short term because it gives me a good payout. Like, for example, when we were getting our house, that was like a year-long commitment. That's about how long it took us to do our habitat and to do work hours, and like it changed our routine, right? It changed our weekends. It was a, sorry, let me drink some water. Talking too fast. It changed things in our life, and therefore that I was willing to go through that routine change because in the long term I wanted a home, right? But if, like, for example, if in order to get the thing you want, you have to change your routine in a way that's like permanent, but you don't want that, then maybe that's not worth it. If you are being told that in order for you to succeed in the thing that you want, you have to do this thing that you're like, it's okay. I'll use an example that is a little too personal, but like birth control pills that are daily. I struggle to take my regular medicine. I struggle to take pain medicine in any consistency. I would not be able to do birth control. But if you understand that in your long-term planning, it is important for you, and that is a habit that is worth it for you, you're gonna do the thing. If you understand that it's not a thing you can do, you're gonna have to look for a different variety of birth control that doesn't require a daily commitment that you're not gonna stick to, because you know that if it's not something you can stick to and it's not a routine that works well, then you're like, okay, maybe I could do it for a month, but then eventually I'm just gonna forget and not do it. Then that can't be a routine that you decide that you're going to try and force yourself to do, because the result of it is like a big deal, right? Like, you have to be really okay with what it could do to your long-term life. So assess that. Okay. And then as time goes by, adjust. Sometimes you just have to adjust. This is where, for example, let's say that you want to be a person who, because of your values, you don't want to support certain companies. You don't want to support certain things. And so you get into like a routine, like it's all or nothing, and that never works because then you just can't keep up with it. And so then adjustment would be, okay, well, I'm just going to find one place where I can buy this other thing here instead of buying it here, and stick to doing that until eventually you're able to choose. Like, making the change a little bit is better than not making any change. So, and then this helps with not burning out, because again, we get into this habit where we try to change everything, especially in the beginning of the year. You try to change your whole life. Then you're like, I can't. It's too hard. So then we just don't do any of it. And then we're back to step one. And so adjusting the capacity that you're forcing yourself to work at can help with that. So if that means, so like, I guess the Target boycott has worked really well the last year because it was one store, and most of what's in that store can be bought in other stores. And everyone's response is, I always see people online be like, well, yeah, but what about Walmart and Amazon and all these other evil companies? Why aren't we boycotting them? And it's like, well, because that's harder. Because those other ones are, like, they have things, people have a lot of, there's other patterns associated, like Walmart is cheaper. So people who are much lower income don't have access. They can't just not go to a cheaper store. People with disability can't just not get deliveries if they can't leave their house. Like, it worked because there was a way to adjust people's, how do I say this, habits around the thing that they were working towards without forcing the person to kind of just do it all. Does that make sense? I hope I said that right. But like, basically adjust the things that you're doing as needed so that you're able to do them. So like, if you recognize that I just can't wake up at this time, it's just I need more sleep, you either have to decide that means that you need to go to sleep earlier or later. Like, go to sleep earlier or just wake up later and be okay with not having, like, maybe the thing that you do in the morning is something you have to do at night. So for example, with us, we try to meal prep because that makes it easier. If we don't meal prep or we don't buy food that is prepped for the week, we're just gonna eat out. As much as we say we'll just do it every day, we're not. The day will get really stressful and we'll just grab McDonald's. And I don't want to be getting McDonald's all the time, right? It's not a thing I want to do. So then I have to, the routine I have to change is not somehow become a person who can cook every meal on time for within the right schedule. Like I can't mentally get myself to do certain things every day because there's too many factors that I can't affect every day. And so then one thing I can adjust when I can and can't meal prep. And one adjustment we made was if it's a week that I'm not going to have time to cook on Sunday night or whatever it is that's going on. Like, we're going to be really busy this week or the week's not going to work out. Okay, we're buying frozen burritos. Does it technically cost more? Is it less healthy? Is it not as good? Not as good. It's still better than nothing. Okay, and then the last pillar is being yourself out in the world. So you're aware of the kind of things that are going on in your life and that you want to change and how the patterns have affected you and what is good and not good about them. And you've accepted what is. And now you know what you kind of do want to change, but you're focusing on taking care of yourself through the process and changing your whole attitude towards yourself. Now you have like kind of the steps to get yourself up to do a thing. So some things to consider now that you're actually going out into the world to do the things. I want you to focus on like the things that you're trying to change, your habits, or if it's a whole routine, or the systems that you're trying to set up. Do they align with the life that you want, with the priorities of your life? Do they align with your value system? Do they align with the world that you want to be? It's kind of like right when we had kids, I only have one kid. When I had my son, we had decided we're going to get paper plates because I'm not doing like dishes with a newborn. And that lasted way longer than we wanted, but we just, like, life got really busy. So we had I had real things that got in the way, but it's not a thing I wanted to do all the time. So it wasn't a thing we did before, but it was like a habit that kind of became a habit we didn't like, because it was just easier. And so I have to recognize, like, yes, it's a habit that technically can help me with feeling a little bit easier throughout my day, etc. I don't want to have to do dishes. I hate dishes, etc. But it doesn't align with the value system, because I don't think it's okay to like waste the paper if I don't have to. Like, paper plates for a party, that makes sense. You kind of have to do that. Who wants to do 30 plates of dishes? Who has 30 plates, right? But it's not something that aligns with more what I just want to do for the rest of my life. Therefore, I have to change that habit in order to not, for it to fit within the life that I believe I want to have in the world that I want to have. So that one seems really silly, but with everything that you do, does it align with who you want? It is a reflection of the life that you want. Same goes with like if you are making changes, you want it to integrate with your identity and the realities of the energy and the personality that you have. How to explain this one? This video is getting really long. I'm sorry. I'm almost done. So for example, if you are not an extrovert, stop trying to force yourself to be an extrovert. Figure out how you can do and like work within the extroverted world. Like you can have small like habits that work in there, but that don't force you to change who you are. Like if you're not the life of the party, don't force yourself to be the life of the party. Like you could go to your friend's party, etc. Right? So if you know that your energy just drops at a certain time of day or after you do a certain thing, that's not the time or the place to decide that that's when you're going to the gym, because you're not going to do it, at least not in any long term. If you understand who you are first, then you're better able to then go out into the world and do the things you want to do. If you're a person who's like, I want to change the world, but then you sign up for all these, oh my God, right now, that's what happens. Really annoyed because I'm in a situation right now where I can't talk about it without it being very obvious. Let's just say sometimes people get very, very excited pretty much every time that something horrible happens in the news and it's a politics based. People get super excited to say like, we're going to create groups and we're going to create all these support systems and we're going to do all these things. And then you share resources and they don't give a fuck. Conversation stops because to actually do things requires actually doing them. And again, if you don't have the time, the energy, the capacity, and you don't understand what capacity you have, it's hard to say yes to anything because you don't understand just like what it will take, and everything sounds like a little too much, and it's like it can make it very overwhelming. So then you just kind of give up and not do anything, and then we just have, again, people who feel like they're doing something but not doing anything. And so focusing on recognizing who you are within the decisions that you make. And again, you can adjust. You can sign up to do things and decide, I am not good at doing that one thing, but I am doing it. I can do this other thing. And then that's the thing that you maybe then choose to work into your life so that you're able to be consistent with it. Practice presence. I don't like that one. I should have written that one. Oh, okay. External expectations. That's what it. Evaluate how much of what you're trying to change in your life is because of external pressure. Like I said, right now, a lot of people are posting, about how, and I do it too. I'm like constantly reposting when I see somebody say that like people's silence matters. Like if you're not saying anything, and I know you will speak up over other things, but you won't speak up about this, you're saying something to me as a person who's affected by it. And everybody's talking about that. And the point of saying that is so that people who care recognize that it's okay to do the scary thing. It's okay to say what you believe. It's okay to go out of your norm to speak up for the people that you care about. It's not so that you feel pressured to do it because you don't actually care. Maybe it's not a thing that's really that important to you, and so let me just go say something, but I'm not actually gonna do anything about it. And then or you're like, oh my God, I have never done anything about this, so let me go and do everything I can. So then you're like signing up for all these organizations and you set up all these things, and again, you're trying to do so many things, but then you're like, that's not sustainable. It's not doable for me, but also I don't really care to do it, or something, whatever it is, the reason that comes up. And then you feel that you're just doing it because you're being pressured to do it. And obviously anything that you do that's good is good, so keep doing good things. But I'll assess why you're doing it and whether or not that's something you can actually do in the long run, and whether or not it's actually helping people before you commit to it long term. Because I think that's a lot of organizations have people who sign up but then they can't commit, and that makes sense. Like you see, it's kind of like on Thanksgiving where everybody wants to go volunteer on Thanksgiving at a food bank, but then the rest of the year nobody's volunteering. And so when like the food stamps issue was happening this last year, I remember being like, okay, everyone's super excited right now about buying groceries for their neighbor, but if you don't have $200 to spend every single week or month, you're probably not going to do that more than the one time that you did it, because that's not sustainable. But maybe what is sustainable is committing to $20 per month to the food bank, like setting it up as an automated thing. And so now you're not doing this thing because you feel pushed and forced to do, like there's external pressures of how you're supposed to be, like posting about the huge grocery haul that you went and dropped off to this person. Like, what would you do if nobody was telling you to do it, basically? Okay, so that was all the steps for this concept. Oh my god. Today I have journal prompts for you guys. I want you, some journal prompts that you can do is like, what routine makes my life easier but I resist it? What habits am I doing out of obligation rather than because I want to? And then what loops am I stuck in that I didn't choose or that I'm actively choosing? Because the last few months have been going out of my way to go to the mall, because there's a Mexican store with candy, to buy a big pack. It has like 18 candies in it, so I can eat it within like 2 days. That's not good. But I'm doing it. Like, I know I'm doing it. I recognize I'm doing it, and I know it's just, for now, I'm just doing that because it's helping me feel a little bit better to get through the next day. It's not something I want to continue to do for the rest of my life, but I'm recognizing that it's a choice that I'm doing. It's not something I'm stuck in. I can make changes. Sorry, sharing too much. Okay. And then I will put out a resource list on my socials like usual. As far as like, I am on my, I'll probably put this underneath the video, and then underneath the newsletter I have a lot of different GoFundMes for the victims of what's going on around the whole country. And then there's organizations I know of specifically that are very helpful here in my state. So I'll link those if you guys have any money to give. That would be very helpful. And try to pay attention to, like, there's especially right now, it's being called out that, like, okay, there's two really big names, right? And they have already gotten all the support, all of the media, all of the attention that they deserve. But then other people aren't being noticed. And ICE, the Huaparetas, so DHS, Customs, detention centers, over 40 people have died. And this year specifically, we're on track for significantly more people. Historically, if you take a look at the numbers, so I put out a timeline a long time ago about how, like, look up the steps to genocide. Where it says, like, when groups are gonna go to the point where they're gonna be that level of harm. I know people don't want to call it that yet because we're not there yet specifically. We're getting there. Like, we're hitting all these marks. And if you look at the historical, like, timeline of how these things happen, for example, in Germany, we're on track or above those timelines, where I understand it's not the same thing as happening right now, but if we were to just let it happen because we're like, well, it's not like the same thing's happening right now, then that can happen. And so we need to pay attention to how horrible things are right now, because it's not okay in its own way, but also it could get significantly worse if we're not doing something about it. Like, the whole, we can never let it happen again means you can't let it happen again. Not that it's just okay to say, oh, it shouldn't happen again. Like, you need to actively stop it at the early tracks, because anything that's not stopped in the early tracks is going to get to the end. Like what's happening in Palestine. didn't start 2 years ago. It started significantly longer ago, and we ignored it for, I mean, we didn't, it's been in the conscience of the world, but it's been ignored overall. Like, people just, it's the thing that happens out there, the things happening in Sudan, the things happening in all the other countries where there's horrible things happening. It didn't start just that day. Like, it started with really small things, and we're seeing those small things happen here as well, and it's super scary. And so if you, regardless of your political leaning, pay attention and please care about it, I guess. And then, just because I keep forgetting, hi, I have a book. I'm a published author, and my book is called Untying You From Me. And it's a poetry collection on being set free to be. It's on sale on every single platform, and you can request it at any library or any bookstore, and then they can get it for you. The links are on my website, and please share it with the world, because I hate marketing and I hate having to talk about it, and I like recoil every time somebody mentions it and I have to talk about it in that moment. So please help me with it. You do it, please. Yeah, I'll put out other stuff that I can this month. We'll see how this month goes based on the state of the world. I might not be able to do anything because mentally I'm not there. So we'll see. But thank you so much if you made it through this whole video. It was very long. I hope you have a safe as possible month. And I hope that you're able to do whatever you can do to make your world a little bit better, and to put systems in place to make the overall world a little bit better. Be blessed, and goodbye.